Alright, so today we're going to talk about basic naming of compounds, whether they be ionic or covalent. Well, the first step, as this paper says, is to decide whether it is ionic or covalent. So remember, if it's ionic, it is between a metal and a non-metal. So I'll give you two examples right here. We've got magnesium, which we know is a metal, and then we've got calcium, which is also a metal. So those are the both ionic compounds. If they're covalent, remember, covalent is a bond between two nonmetals. So both are to the right side of the stair step on the periodic table. And you name those a little bit differently than you name ionic, but they're actually a little bit easier in my opinion. So that's the first step. The second step is to, we're going to write the name of the positive ion, unless it's covalent. Because if it's covalent, you don't have a positive ion, because both of them are going to be negative. The third step is to write the name of the negative ion, and we're going to change the prefix, the suffix to a IDE instead of an ine, like fluoride to fluoride, for example. And then that's it, basically. That's all there is to it. So let's do these 10 examples, and let's learn how to do it. The next podcast is going to be how to take names and put them into formulas. So we're going to find calcium. So we're going to write calcium. We know it is an ionic bond, so we can write calcium. We don't need any prefixes. And then this F is fluorine, so instead of putting fluorine, we're going to change it to calcium fluoride. It's going to work the same way for number 2. Number 2 is also ionic, so it's going to be potassium. And then I, instead of iodine, is going to be iodide. Okay, so very similar to writing genus and species name in biology. You capitalize the first, you don't capitalize the second. Okay, so number 3 takes us to Al2O3. Well, aluminum is a metal, so we are still on naming ionic. So we just simply write aluminum. And then instead of oxygen, we change it to oxide. Okay, number 4. Number 4 is covalent. Silicon is a nonmetal or metalloid, and oxygen is also a nonmetal. So here's where the prefixes come in handy. Okay, so we know that we have to put, we don't have to put mono if it's the first element. We only put mono if it's the second element. Okay, so we're going to write silicon. And the prefix for 2, since we have 2 oxygens, is going to be di. And then we also ended in IED, so it's silicon dioxide. Okay? So number 5 is also a covalent. So again, we're going to use the prefixes. So now we have a 2 in front of this phosphorus, or behind this phosphorus. So we have to put the prefix for 2. So we're going to put di phosphorus. And then the prefix for 5 is pent oxide. Okay. Number 6 is also going to be covalent. Carbon and chlorine are both nonmetals and or metalloids, but we're going to call them nonmetals. So again, we don't have to write mono if it's the first element. So we're just going to say carbon, pent. Alright. Same thing for number 7. Number 7 is also covalent. So we got dinitrogen, because we got 2 nitrogens, and we got 6. So the prefix for 6 is going to be hexa, and then it's going to be sulfide instead of sulfur. So all these need to end in IDE for the second element listed. So number 8, 9, and 10, we're going to have to use our polyatomic ion chart. They are common polyatomic ions, but they're going to work the same way as naming a regular ionic bond. So we're going to name the metal. So Ba is barium. So we're going to write barium. Then we're going to find NO3 on this little chart that I've been hiding out. So NO3, if we look right here, is nitrate. So we're just going to write nitrate. So it's just barium nitrate. Same thing for number 9. We find calcium, we write calcium. And then we find CO3 on this chart, which is going to be right here, which is going to be carbonate. So it's going to be calcium carbonate. You don't change the endings on polyatomic ions. You write them as they appear. And then the last one, we've got sodium. And then we got to find HCO3 on this chart, which is going to be bicarbonate. HCO3 is bicarbonate. So we just write bicarbonate. And that's it. Again, this was a very, very simple taking formulas, giving them names, which is the easier of the two unless you have transition metals, but we will get there on the next information on the next video. Okay?